your current living situation. You're in Idaho, homesteading, off grid. I know
in
you
the
haven't been
mountains.
there for too long, a handful of
5 years.
years. Okay, 5 years
Yeah.
now. This community aspect, I really love what you're getting into here. Have you been able to form that with people around you where people are working together and have a common goal?
To some degree, yes. We're developing that community. It isn't necessarily, I mean, I have some immediate neighbors that I do have a really great relationship with, and so we do have some of that. And then I've met people, other people in the area under different circumstances that I've developed really wonderful relationships with, and we share similar goals and values and things like that. People who are experts in organic growing, and people are into, I've also gotten into beekeeping and all that kind of thing, and so there's a whole community around that, and other people know a lot about foraging, and so yes, there has been a lot more of that kind of, um, sharing, and, it's really, it's really rewarding. I'm not as isolated as people think I am. I don't live in a big population center, that is true, and I have no regrets about that at all. In fact, my hope and my goal is to actually never see another city again as long as I live. I have no intention of ever getting on an airplane ever again or going to any kind of major metropolitan area. I just, I, I've done a tremendous amount of travel all over the world, and I've met the most amazing people and seen amazing places and done amazing things, and it's awesome. And I'm really happy to be where I am. It's breathtakingly beautiful. It's pristine. It's very insulated from the insanity of the world. Um, and I have clean water, relatively clean air. There's no, industrialization anywhere around here. There's down on the prairie, they definitely do their share of spraying on their crops and things, but I'm up pretty high, so I don't get a lot of that overflow, and because of that, and probably got the healthiest beehive in the entire area. Um, um, but, um, and, it's just the wildlife is amazing, and living in direct communication with nature and its natural rhythms and the seasons and all of that. You're having to be aware all the time of what's happening with the temperature, what's happening with the weather, what's happening with the forecast, with whatever else, because it all matters a lot in terms of what your chores need to be that day and whatever else. Um, and I save a lot of money on gym memberships. Yeah, chopping wood and hauling water and doing all this stuff. And it is very hard work. Um, but gosh, at the end of the day, there's no place on planet Earth I'd rather be, and there's no other way of living I can imagine living anymore. Um, it's just so rewarding and so beautiful, and uh, you know, I mean, the deer around here, they walk right up to you and nuzzle your hand. The little bunnies hop around right in front of you on the trail, and we have actually several families of grouse living on the property that just kind of walk right up to you and look up and say, "How's it going?" And they don't care. And the wild turkeys and the elk, and there's a moose on the property, and that kind of stuff. And yeah, there are mountain lions and bears and bobcats and things like that too. But it's all part of this natural ecosystem that I love wildness, and it's a wild place, and the sunrises and sunsets are just breathtaking, and, you know, even on like, the weather yesterday was really sucky, but at the same time, you're getting sucky from the standpoint of, like, you didn't wanna be out in it very much, because we were in a cloud, and it was cold and damp and just raining and whatever else, but I was so grateful for every drop of rain, and just knowing I don't have to water today, or whatever. Um, it's, um, it's, I think it's a great way to live. It's obviously not for everybody, but you don't have to be living in an environment like I am in order to reap the benefits of what I'm talking about. Even if you live in a Manhattan apartment, which I'm sorry if that's where you are, but there are ways of still doing what I'm talking about, and it is possible. There's a huge number of things you can do to be more self-sufficient, at least in terms of your procurement of food and even raising your own food. I mean, like things like quail, if you could bring yourself to get into that, they don't take up much room. They're prolific. They produce eggs and meat, and they're quiet. Rabbits also, things like that. Um, Quiet and really inexpensive to feed. Um, and I mean, there are things you can do without anybody that you live next to even knowing. You don't have to have chickens in your backyard, which a lot of people do, and that's great if if you're into that. Um, I live again in a very pristine, peaceful wilderness environment, and I'm not interested in hearing a lot of barnyard animals. Um, but um, but there are lots and lots of ways a person can become, at least somewhat self-sufficient. Any form of self-sufficiency you can develop, especially around food, is going to give you enormous sense of security. And if you're able to adjust your metabolism to something that is more focused on, just uncompromising nutrient-dense foods that supply ample quality fat nutrients, fat-soluble nutrients and calories, together with just really high quality protein and high quality whatever that plant food is that you like, vegetable or whatever, fibrous vegetables and greens, and maybe, a handful of nuts here and there, or whatever else. You're not going to be hungry. You'll have, you know, you'll be a lot less panicked, I think, financially, and it adds a sense of security that it's hard to get any other way.
If you enjoyed that clip, you're going to want to head over here and catch a full episode. I'll see you over there.
I do believe in relying on ketones and free fatty acids as a primary source of fuel. I think we're well designed to do that. We've always selectively hunted the fattest, sassiest animals. What we have between our ears has an enormous metabolic demand.